So we can have a chat now with a man who has basically propelled Saints to have one of the best defences in the Premiership now. He won't probably want to talk about himself too much, but we are going to talk about him. Lee Radford joins us. How are you, pal?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. Thank you for having me. Jack, our media man, tells me this is the initiation into rugby union. So,
Hey, Lee, no, this isn't the initiation. If you're at Northampton, the initiation is the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet there, and you've got to spend 3 hours eating as much as you can. Have you been there yet? Have you had any time to go there? Now you got a bit.
No, not yet. I will be soon.
Yeah, absolutely. But how are you enjoying it? I mean, from the outside looking in, Northampton look like they're flying, and part of that has been in the defence physicality, the stuff that they've needed to work on. It's been made public last year and the year before of the work-ons. It was obvious. You've come in, you've shored that up. How good has it been?
Yeah, no, really good. I think you just said it there. I think it's been spoken about previously. I think that was part of the sell. I think they was fully aware of that, and where they needed to make that transition. And I think it's a real credit to the players, the playing group. How well they've gone after it. It's funny. Obviously coming from league, our early part of pre-season was very physical in terms of contact and the wrestle sessions, the combat sessions. I didn't see any difference in intent or physicality between the codes, and I didn't know what to expect coming in. Obviously, you see the scorelines and the what's gone on in previous years, so. That was pleasantly surprising as well.
Mate, we're going to come back and talk about Saints in a minute. I want to talk to you. You mentioned league then, about you and your career. Starting off making your debut at 16, obviously known as one of the toughest blokes to have played the game. But I need to ask you about your loyalties, really, because you're a bit of a Hull FC legend from everything that you won. You won Super League and everything that goes with it, World Club Championship, etc., etc. But you should have played for Hull Kingston Rovers, shouldn't you?
I should have. They didn't. I'm a red and white, so I am a Robin. So when I signed I think I signed at 15. The Hull KR didn't have an academy at that point, so I had to go over to the dark side, unfortunately. And then obviously I had a 20-year playing career there, coaching career. So I just get shit either side of the city. So we lost. I'd get it from my own fans in Hull, and if we won, I'd get it from the Hull KR fans as well. So you need an ego. You need a tough edge to be around that neck of the woods, I think.
Tough edge is the one. I used to watch it back in the day, boots and all, the Friday nights under the lights and stuff like that. I don't watch it as much now, like we're busy doing what we're doing as well, but they were the glory days of rugby league, right? And you talk about Kevin Sinfield, Sean Edwards, maybe just the generation before. I don't know whether yours crossed over, but he looks like he's about 75. So, no, he's a tough paper round. But Big Faz as well, like there's some absolute legends that are actually now crossing over very successfully into union. What is it about that kind of generation that you were in?
I don't know. I've obviously been asked, obviously the success they've had as well. Why is it? And why is it not gone the other way as well? Because I think there is some that there's some things we do in rugby union that is very transferable as well into league.
Yeah.
I think it's a financial thing. I don't think there's any money in the game to bring them over. So I honestly don't know. I believe the fact there's 13 players on the field in league. I know 2 players don't sound a lot, but you know yourself when you're down to 13 blocks, you're scrambling. The space you have to defend is bigger, and it's difficult. So I think the fact that if you can imagine on a rugby field, there's 13 blocks. There's 2 blocks at mark end. There's 1 block in backfield. So there's always 10 in the defensive line. You get a back late from the ruck, you've got 4 blokes defending 50% of the field, which is difficult. So I think coaching that and being used to that, I think maybe some of those movement drills and things that I've come across, I think rugby probably has seen the benefit of that down the line.
Yeah, 100%. Now, one of the things we've talked about on here is we love Northerners. We've got some big mates of ours are Northerners. They seem to come in rugby union, whatever their background is, and they do well. And they're salt-the-earth people. Do you reckon, you mentioned some names then, Sean Edwards, Kevin Sinfield, it should be Sir Kevin Sinfield, by the way, in my opinion, Andy Farrell. They've all got deep Northern accents. Do you reckon your accent actually helps get people off the deck and making tackles for you? Because I'd play for anyone with a Northern accent.
I'd play for anybody with a Scottish accent. So when you listen to the old Scottish managers, your Fergusons, for whatever reason, they always came across better than an Arsene Wenger.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Posh, just too posh.
Yeah, I'd go to war with Fergie. I don't think I'd get in the trenches with Wenger for whatever reason. So, yeah, there might be something in it. There might be something in that.
Yeah, and just with that, look, going off script a little bit here, but we were talking about Owen Farrell, big in the news, obviously a Northerner, Big Andy's son. I'd love to see him rugby league. As in dream scenario for me as a fan. You talked about that crossover, and we've had a few come over from league to union. And like you said, both as coaches and as players, you don't see them going back the way. How good would it be to see Owen Farrell playing for Wigan? Can you imagine? Or even in the NRL? Fuck it.
Yeah, that'd be an unbelievable boost for the game. Again, financially, I don't think we'll get anywhere near that. The NRL possibly, but for the NRL, I think he played league at junior level. I'm sure
he did.
At scholarship level as well, wasn't he? So, tough as like his dad. I was fortunate enough to play with and against his dad. Tough man. Character he brings is second to none. What he brings in the changing room is obviously phenomenal. I think that'd be a really smooth transition. As a ball playing 13, I think he'd kill.
Well, let's start that narrative. Let's push it, but let's put it out there. Let's try and get a headline out of this because, I think no one's having that conversation, are they? No one's talking about getting Owen Farrell over.
We need to get him to we need him at the Robin. Get him to Rolling.
You just said there's no money in it. Hold on, you just said
he doesn't need the money. I think he's doing
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is obviously why Northampton. You had offers, I think, when I was looking into it from the NRL, and Jim mentioned the all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet you've not even found yet. But what was the drag to Northampton? Because it is a difference for you. You were head coach in league and all that stuff, but you've had a massive impact, and I just wondered what the motivations were.
Yeah, some circumstances. I obviously had 7 years coaching at Hull as an equivalent to a DOI in rugby union. I then had 14 months at Castleford, and during that period, in the pre-season, I was Samoa's defence coach in the World Cup, and had a fantastic campaign. Managed to get to the final, and really enjoyed the assistant role, going back, taking a step back and not dealing with players' wives who are happy, and not dealing with.
Oh, don't go there! Don't go there with.
Yeah. So apologies. Yeah, but you know all the
drama.
All what comes with you're not doing what you started doing. You enjoyed coaching. You enjoyed seeing what's getting better, and you having an influence on that. And I really enjoyed that with Samoa. And then obviously speaking to them boys, obviously coming over from the NRL and the luxuries that them men have, I suppose. I wanted to crack over there, so I spoke to an agent, got on a flight to Australia, had 3 weeks out there, and during that period, Northampton got in touch. And the more I watched and the more digging I did, I loved the way they play with the ball. I'm a rugby nose. I love love sevens, love nines, love tens, love the 13-man code. So that was an appeal. And just the challenge of being, trying to have an influence on the defence as well, I think was important for me as well. So, it's turned out the right decision, really enjoying what I'm doing and surrounded by good people as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how life goes, eh? You go to Australia, you could have signed a contract there and then, Northampton come in, and then next thing you're in the East Mids. It's awesome. Like, it's just, I love that part of life. One of the big things, and I suppose the differences when I watch, only based on the state of origin, but rugby league and rugby union and the big shift in union around tackle height, right? In league, they're still tackling high. As a coach coming in, and I know it's more than just the tackling because the players can tackle, it's more about systems when you get to the level that you're coaching at. But have you found that transition from that height in tackling?
Yeah, so there's a story to. So last season, for a bit like every competition does, for 6 rounds, they went really heavy on any contact to the head.
Yeah.
And I mean, sort of glancing, brushing somebody's forehead. You was going off and getting 10 minutes. So in rugby league, they really came up, but they only policed it for 6 rounds because pretty much the public said this is pathetic. We're going to turn off unless this changes. And then I think when it first, the concussion stuff first flipped, started to rear its head. I think there was a spike in that in Union as well. I thought the World Cup was pretty heavy on it. I just think there's been some real common sense decisions made this season. Yeah. I think Hutch's at weekend, their six is carrying the ball. He's 12. His head's 12 inches off the floor. There's going to be contact there somewhere. I think the irony is all the way up the field that you touch someone's head, you're having 10 minutes in the bin. Yet on trial line, you can run with your head, and you can also hit. Well, like you couldn't make that up. So I get the concussion stuff. I have sympathy for all that. I'm probably going to suffer for it myself at some point. I have no doubt about that. But I still don't want it to be detrimental to the game. I love to watch, and the physicality. The reason you started playing because it differs from other sports. You want to belt people, and you want to see people getting belted. You just mentioned the origin. That is why that game is right at the top of the rugby league calendar.
And with that mindset then, so how do you approach that as a hard northerner? I'm not saying that I'm cut from the same cloth as you, but this is a gladiatorial sport. People don't like using that phrase. It's a physical sport. You've got to run through walls. You've got to do these hard things, right? And the collision and the contact. How's your terminology as a hard northerner who's now coaching these younger athletes that are coming through where there is this caution?
Yeah, I think all you can go after is technique. The better your technique is, the less likely you are to cop a knock. So I think the harder you drive your actual approach into contact, your body height, your dropping of your body height, the more benefits you're going to have, or less head contacts you're going to have. Inevitably, you're going to get whiplash at some point. Somebody gets a good shot, and you're going to get whiplash at some point. That's the you can't go into a boxing ring and not expect to get punched. That's why you jump into a ring remarkably, to get punched and to punch people. So I think it's inevitable it's going to happen. But I think the harder we can teach good technique, the better, and promote good technique, rather than finding every other reason to change a rule in the game to change the game that we love.
Yeah, and how, on that technique part now, obviously with Jim Hamilton doing the pod, he's 6'9" when he's got his heels on. He's got a back stiffer than a wooden door. But I'm sat there going, you've got all sorts of different sizes of players. We've seen Courtney Laws, who you're coaching at the minute. He tackles unbelievably well low. He's never had a problem with it. But there's some big lads that actually struggle to bend over and tackle, right? Just the mechanics of it. You've got bigger guys like Alex Coles and these guys. How do you manage that kind of technique-wise and change it for different players? Because it's really interesting that some players can bend over and some can't. So someone's going to be fucked because of it.
Yeah, I think that's what's differed. Forever and a day, you've always practiced hitting with a ball at your shoulder and drilling that into someone's chest cavity. But I think the catch tackle is becoming more prominent and relevant, and probably, if you're catching sort of chest on, a little bit more chest on for those big blokes, for a bloke who's ducking at the line, I think that reduces chances of actually having a head knock. Chest to head is not a 10-minute offence. It's not sending off offence. It's part and parcel of the game. So I think that is where the tackle sort of technique becomes, again, it's a little bit safer. You're still making a collision. Hopefully somebody can still come in and have an impact under the ball. But for those 6'7", 6'8" blocks, I think that's an easier approach into contact than having to bend the back.
Apart
Jim
from Courtney Laws, I couldn't catch.
Jim couldn't catch, so he couldn't catch tackle then. So.
I had a career like that as well. Yeah.
But the polar opposite with Courtney Laws, right? So just a word on him, how good he's been, how impressed. And you get these aging athletes, right? Retire from England. All right, I'll just go through the motions. Complete opposite with him, right?
Yeah, so there's a chap you probably know him, Gareth Ellis in Rugby League. I had the pleasure of coaching Gaz. Gaz went over to the NRL, absolutely killed it for 2 or 3 years over there. Great Britain international legend. Courtney reminds me so much of him. His presence don't say an awful lot, but when he speaks, people listen. And on the field, he just manages. He looks gone. He looks like he's done. He's cooked, and he just somehow manages to find something from somewhere. And if you press pause on any Northampton line break conceded, he was within 10 metres of that, that line break, and not letting them through, actually chasing. And I think that is, that's a war of attrition. That's there's not many people with them minerals, and that's probably why they're as respected as they are, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%. Now let's talk about Saints then. Obviously, you've had a massive impact at the start of the season. Just give me your thoughts at 22 minutes in at the weekend when you're 26-0 down, and I'm watching the game thinking, what the fuck has gone on here? Yeah. But as a defensive coach, it's your worst nightmare, isn't it?
Sure, yeah, really bad. I think I had my first sort of semi-blow up at weekend. I think you've only got 2 or 3 in a season, and I think I used quarter on that on Saturday afternoon. So, it's ironic. We'd spoke about their start. They score more tries in the first 10 minutes than any other team in the comp. So with that compacted with their home record, it wasn't a surprise how they came out the blocks.
Yeah.
What did surprise me was how sluggish we was, and ironically, we've gone into detail and depth about that today, and hopefully we don't see that again. But we want to be involved in big games come the end of the year, and I think the game against Sale, obviously the game on Saturday, a great prep for that. 2 top of the table sides going at it, big atmosphere. The more of them pre-runs you can have, I think the better sorted you're going to be at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a tough start for everyone with the amount of games, and I think trying to get that level up every week, and then you go into the Champions Cup and you've got to get that level again. I mean, if you watch Bath Gloucester, it was exactly the same. The energy wasn't what you'd think in a West Country derby. Saracens were way off it against Leicester. How tough has this block been? But how important is it for you to be in this block and be in it at the business end of the season? Obviously, right?
Yeah, huge. That's one thing I've been real impressed with the Gallagher Premiership. Like the closeness of the games. The amount of games we've been involved in where it's gone down to the 75th minute. Ironically, it went down to the 83rd, I think, on Saturday. But the closeness of the games and the closeness of the competition are one thing that, if you're a supporter, you've got to be excited about that. You're not. I think that's one thing where Super League has dropped off. Or, in these last couple of years, there's so many blowout scores in that mid part of the season. I think it's a credit to the competition squads that these games are still healthy. I don't know whether the unfortunately the demise of a couple of teams has had an effect on that and maybe thickened some squads up. But yeah, long may it. I'd love to blow a team away every now and then and just sit back for the last 40 minutes. But I'm loving the excitement of not knowing which way a game's going to go.
Yeah, I bet it was a good bus journey home on the way back from Exeter at the weekend. A few beers?
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't?
No, I was 6 hours. I live in Hull, don't I? Exeter to Hull is 6 hours, so that's possibly like another country. Exeter.
Oh, you drove up there, did you? Jeez, that's a long.
I got on the train. The coach 4.5 hours, and then another 2.5 hours back up.
Oh wow! Well, was Sam Vesti? He usually led the charge on the naked bus. He wasn't doing that again, was he?
Yeah, no, he had his clothes on. He bounced between. He can't sit still, Sam, as I'm sure you're aware. Yeah. The ADHD kicks in and he bounces between every seat on the bus, including the drivers.
Yeah, well, he had a kid when he was 16, that's why. So he's looking for a blowout now. I think his eldest is about 29 now.
Let's say 3 times his youngest.
Yeah, how's it been with working with them young lads? I don't know what the profile of the coaches is in rugby league. My thought is they're slightly older, but you look at like George Givington at Gloucester, for example. You're looking at Dowse at Northampton. They're just 2 young coaches. You could go through the league, but they are younger now than they were. How's that been working with younger coaches?
Really. I think I'm the oldest. I think I'm 44.
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to jump the gun and say, how does it feel being the elder statesman?
That's fantastic. That's what I do as a coach, try and get the answer out of them without them actually, no, it's been really good. I am kidding. They're a fantastic coaching staff. Get the points across really articulately, very detailed. And I think, one thing, I can say hand on heart, I want to come in and get better every day. And I think when you marry that up with a young group that is of the same, mindset, I think hence the reason we've probably had the start to the year that we've had.
Yeah, 100%. As Sam Vesti mentioned what his nickname was at Leicester, we played with him for years at the club together. Is it?
He's not black. I cannot wait to hear this.
Jim, you going to go with it or shall I?
The bogey monster.
Well, I was going to say Knob Cheese was his nickname.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There was a couple. But
I prefer Knob Cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the northerner in you. Exactly. The further south you go, you can't say them things. But he got caught on TV. Lee, I don't know if you saw it when you were doing your prep on Northampton. I'm sure he did. He got caught picking his nose and eating it, but he was nervous.
Right.
Immune system's bulletproof. So, yeah.
What's him? It was the German manager who used to sniff his ass.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone likes the smell of their own musk, don't they, though? You can't get away from that.
So just call Sam Vesti Knob Cheese from now on. It'll be fine. It will go down well.
Right, back to business, Andrew. Back to business, mate.
It sounds like a bit of an obvious question, and it probably is actually. But you're, top of the Prem at the minute, you're flying high in the Investec Champions Cup as well. What's the chat like around the club, within the coaches, within the players? Because you want to be in the big games. You said it yourself just before. Are the goals around trying to win a trophy, or is that just an obvious thing that because you are where you are, that's what you want to do?
Yeah, I think obviously last season's disappointment, the performance at Sarries was disappointing. I think the fact they went, got into put themselves on the map and didn't quite deliver that day.
They got stitched up by the ref, though. I remember that one.
Yeah. If you asked Owen, and I could, you could almost sense that bit of taste in the mouth during pre-season, and I think that's been a good thing. I think that's been a good thing to drive some standards, and some of the early meetings we had in pre-season, it was obviously really highlighted. So no, they've been good. They've been really, really good. They're a keen bunch, really good age, and they're on the field a lot as well. I've coached teams where your average age is 28, 29, and to do a double day is difficult for some of them. We have none of that. You're having to pull them off, not literally.
Oh, there we go.
You drag them off the field.
Do you have any chat with any of the other Northers? Are you on a group chat with any of them, the likes of Simfield and Sean Edwards and Big Faz? Is there much chat about?
Yeah. Kev was in last week, so I obviously spoke to Kev prior to getting the Northampton gig and picked his brains a little bit. I spoke to Sean. Sean was I was at Radford with Sean.
Yeah.
My first year at Radford, he left. And there's a bit of a story with Sale. So Paul Deacon, obviously, is the attack coach there. He was our scrum half at Bradford when we was there. Mike Forshaw, the last defence coach, was the loose forward.
Yeah.
I took Mike's spot, and then Jamie Langley took my spot after that. So who is obviously the current defence coach. So yes, I speak to all. I've spoke to all of them and asked them how they've found the transition and whether they've got any tips that they could throw my way.
Have they said there's a key? Have they said there's this is the key to success? Because we know with Kev, right, how well he did at Leicester, and I think I know the reasons why he's probably stepping away from England with Rob and his family and stuff like that. But was there any keys to the success? Did they say anything specific?
I think regards the Northampton role, they all said similar stuff. If you can find them a DNA defensively, try and get them an identity. You're onto a winner, and I think that's something that stuck and resonated with me. How do we want to be sort of described or spoke about? And I think that was one of the early messages again in pre-season that you can only change that narrative if you're performing every week, and if you're performing to a physical standard every week, that reputation soon starts to grow. And I think that's where we're at right now.
And last thing I'll ask you then we're talking about Northerners here, and you mentioned some unbelievable names. Have you ever met a soft Northerner in your life? Because every Northerner that I ever hear about is hard as fuck.
And if so, who? Who's the softest one out of the lot?
Yeah, no, I don't know why that is. I think there's a lot of estates up there, isn't there? I mean, the estate arm off is a place called Brandsholm. I think it's the biggest or second biggest one in Europe. It has the highest crime rate in Europe, which is that's its fantastic achievement. I think you've got to be. You get dragged up, don't you?
Out of all of them, then, yeah. No, hey, I'm going to flip it. I'm going to flip it on its head. Out of all of that group, out of Kev, Big Faz, Sean Edwards, you don't need to say yourself because, we wouldn't do that unless you'd absolutely monster them. Who is the one out of that group, out of all your mates in that era, who is the godfather?
I I loved Moz. I love Adrian Morley.
Yeah.
Oh,
legend.
Yeah. I played with Moz again at Radford, lucky enough to play with him, good friends with him, and yeah, he's one of them blokes you got a little bit taller when you walked out on the pitch. Playing next to him, he left it all out there, and usually left it imprinted on somebody else's face as well. So, yeah, great bloke, great on the pitch, great trainer. Worked hard, played hard, and yeah, tough as all boots.
Perfect. And last thing then, have you used the phrase "southern softy" since you've been down at Northampton to anyone?
Can't call them soft now. Can't call people soft. Hurts their feelings.
Yeah, I've just done my online course actually. They've been wanting me to do my online course of etiquette around the office. So yeah, no, I've not mentioned that to anybody.
Call it Sam Vesty. We'll call him the southern softy. Then there you go.
Bob cheese.
Yeah, that's fine. He'll love that. That's awesome, mate. Legend. Yeah, good luck. It's awesome to see Northampton flying, and like we're Leicester boys as well. But to see Northampton flying, it's awesome to see. I think it's huge for the Prem and going into the Champions Cup.
Great stuff. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Pod.
Rugby Pod.